Hello, David Hume here. Uh, happy! It is the 79th anniversary when the Western Allies stormed the Normandy beaches. Of course, in World War II, there were other background events such as the invasion of Sicily, and with and let's not forget what's going on in the Eastern Front. In a few more weeks after the Normandy invasions, there will be Operation Bagration. But aside from that quick review of of World War II, uh, I will be playing a replay of one of my most hilarious losses. It's not really competitive or anything. I don't think there's really much analysis, but to provide some quick context, my opponent Tubi is hosting a duel, and he specified, for whatever reason, that we're going to play under Master Rule One and or whatever, and that means that the person who's going first, which is myself, is not going to draw a card during their draw phase when they're on the turn they're going first. Now the fun begins. I want to make a play, and I can't just sit. I can just sit back and rely on my scapegoats to protect me. And I chose Sager Crane because uh, because of Black versus Soldier, and perhaps I could make a premature burial play. And of course, the premature burial play is the most obvious play because you get to revive Sager Crane, and you get to remove the Vampire Lord because of Big Bang Shot's effect. Uh, let's look at the graveyard. Maybe you could pause and consider counterfactual scenarios, like if I get lucky and get a demock or whatever. It is my turn, and this this is this is the climax of the video. Let's look at the graveyard again. I have these. Those are my two monsters, and this means that uh, I can't use both of these effects on the same turn because I can only choose to use one. And I also have a brain control. And if I want to clear the field of any spell trap removal, I have Heavy Storm, and I would get inflicted by 500 damage if I used Heavy Storm. So my opponent's at 8,000, so I wanted to reduce my opponent's life points. And what do you think is the most intuitive play in order to inflict damage to your opponent's life points? You have a monster that can inflict. My opponent has a monster that can inflict piercing, and intuitively you would think of that as an asset you could that you that you could that you could take for yourself. And that's what I did. Now we entered in the battle phase. And now, I mean, Briefly, what do you think I'm going to do? I mean, you know what I'm going to do, obviously. There's no more suspense. But what do you think will happen? Just think about it for like 30 seconds. And if you're still confused, I'll just press play again. And I killed myself. I can't use the S word because that may trigger the YouTube algorithm. I think they recognize people's voices, so I can't call it the S word, even though it's obviously metaphorical. But AI is not smart enough to know that the S word is. It's not really that technically, because I really didn't intend to end the game by using something like a ring of destruction to force my life points to go to 0. I did not intend for this to happen at all. I think the game was very much winnable if you used Heavy Storm, but the point here is not to talk about what I could have done or how to maximize my chances of winning. The point here is for me to celebrate my own folly for doing that and to sort of briefly talk about Big Bang Shot. Briefly, let's read it. Let's read it. Let's read 2/3 of it. The equipped monster gains 400 attack. If the equipped monster attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. The prepositional phrase, adverbial, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So Big Bang Shot, the piercing damage. So it doesn't apply to the controller of the monster, but to the owner, to the controller of Big Bang Shot. So since my opponent controls Big Bang Shot, I get inflicted piercing damage because I am the opponent. And it's also similar to Megamorph too, because the Megamorph applies to whoever controls Megamorph. So if my life points are higher than my opponent, and I equip Megamorph to Blackluster Soldier, my opponent's Blackluster Soldier, my opponent's Blackluster Soldier would have 1,500 attack points if my life points are higher. If my life points are lower, my opponent would have 6,000 attack points on the Blackluster Soldier. Anyway, thank you for getting this. Thank you for getting this. Thank you for getting this far, I guess. If you don't know much about World War II or D-Day, I hope you could find some YouTube video. I would recommend the Battlefield series, narrated by Tim Pigott Smith or whatever. I think that's his name. Battlefield. It's very, very old. I think it's like made in the early 90s. I'll provide a link to it, God willing. Well, anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll watch my content, watch more of my content again, God willing.